Yes, old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra on this Friday morning. I want you to know that Bernie and Sid now, we've left our regular studio. We are coming to you live from the very, very beautiful Hackensack Meridian Health Stage 17, up here on the 17th floor, just a couple of feet away from the actual studios. This is a built-in, beautiful live audience studio.
We have lights in our faces.
We have lights in our faces. We've got a big neon screen behind us, and all of that is because Councilman Ulrich, who's become a very, very good friend of mine, and in turn now a very good friend of yours, too, a good friend of the show.
I'm a supporter.
Absolutely. Had a chance to meet him a couple of times in Howard Beach. Twice, actually. Once at Russo's by the Bay and once at Aldo's Pizzeria. My good friends Charlie Marino and Anthony Livreri at the time when Tom Sullivan was running for Queens Senator. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Tommy did lose, but we love the Sullivan family, Michael especially. But now he's turned his attention, Eric Ulrich, to public advocate because he's the one guy that will break Bill de Blasio's balls. So we love Eric. He's going to join us momentarily, but this is even bigger than Eric Ulrich.
This is breaking news.
Thank you, Jill. You know that, and Bernie's a fan of Howard, too. Don't let him kid you. 40 years on Imus, whatever. He listens to Howard all the time, and he knows Howard. They worked together back at NBC.
For many years. Boy Gary was at my wedding. Gary Delabate. I shared a house in the Hamptons with Gary.
He likes you. He was mad at me.
I
saw him in Atlanta, and he said, you say terrible things about me. I said, I do. You're right.
Yes.
Which is true, and you don't.
No, I don't.
But make a long story short, but he's not the enthusiast, Bernie, that me and Jill are for Howard. We love the guy. We think he's the best ever. He's a deity to us. And now you see Elephant Boy, High Pitch Eric, all these people that infiltrated my South Florida show are now a part of the Bernie and Sid show as well. But we always say this, our favorite is Marianne from Brooklyn, only because she is, there's nothing wrong with her.
Phone.
That's true, too. No, but there's nothing wrong with her. You know, unlike these other people, there's
Right, she's normal.
She's not only normal, she's really smart. Mm-hmm. She's a very attractive lady. She's a great mother. She lives in Brooklyn. And you know, Bernie, that I'm still Brooklyn all the way, Maimonides Hospital, Heshe Organbaum. She has devoted her life to Howard Stern and would never in a million years ever listen to another radio show outside of Howard and would certainly never, ever, ever call another radio show outside of Howard Stern, right?
Hell no. No way. That's loyalty for you, baby.
I can't believe she's on hold. I was so nervous talking to her.
She's what?
She's on hold.
She's on hold? Come on!
Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, the big Eric Ulrich supporter, lover of Howard Stern, but if he's first in our hearts, we are certainly second. The superstar that is Marianne from Brooklyn. Good morning, Marianne.
Oh, my God. I almost hung up. Listen to me. I want to say good morning, guys. And I grew up with ABC, AM in my grandmother's kitchen with John B. gambling, going back in the 60s. So I'm a big radio fan.
That was WOR. But who's counting?
Well, wait. Wasn't there another one?
Yes,
there was Bob Grant.
Bob Grant was here.
Bob Grant. Okay,
yes.
I'm sorry. But anyway.
How was it working with Archie Bunker, by the way? Carol O'Connor.
Sid, when I met you, it was at Whack Pack Bowling, and you introduced us. And I'll never forget how great you treated me because, like, you're up on the food chain celebrity, and you really treated all of us great. And
you know what's funny about that, Marianne, is that I was, Bernie, was a big point in my career. Howard allowed me to be the host of Whack Pack Bowling, this little bowling alley in Harlem. And I told you, the elevator door opened at 8 o'clock in the morning, and there was Beetlejuice and Elephant Boy and John the Stutterer, and they're all drunk. And but my wife showed up. She was 9 months pregnant at the time.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
she was, Marianne, with my son Gabriel. And Danielle loves you. My wife is a huge Marianne fan. So while you're saying we were nice to you, you were very nice to us.
Well, you treated all of us equally. Not everybody treats the Whack Pack so kind. And it's a Brooklyn thing. Sid, you're a Brooklyn guy.
That's very telling.
And you're very kind. So I think when someone like you that has this big platform treats Eric, me,
Fred,
right. So it means a lot, you know. And I follow you on Twitter, and I like that you don't back down. I might not always agree with you, Sid, but you don't back down, and that's what I like. But as far as Eric or Ulrich, I didn't even realize till a couple of weeks ago that there was this vote in February. Since when do we vote in February?
Tuesday.
Well, we don't. We ordinarily, that's a good question. We don't. This is a special election, Marianne, coming up. Yeah.
It came in the mail, and I happen to be a big Marty Golden supporter, not because Republican or Democrat or whatever, because he's a good man.
Yep.
I go by good people, Sid. I go by someone that will help any neighbor. See, I'm not all about red and blue. I'm about being good. So if you're good, and good to everybody and won't turn your back. That's why I think someone like Eric is going to be good for my neighborhood, too, because we're suffering here in Bay Ridge. It's very bad homeless. We have a lot of crime. The neighborhood changed, and, we have a lot of overcrowded schools. It's, for everybody. It's just a hard way for everyone to live.
No, listen, we love you, Marianne. Eric is sitting down, so we have to say goodbye, but this was a big thrill for the Bernie and Sid show. We love you very much.
Howard, I'm a hooah. What can I say?
Hey, Marianne, can you just say, "Oh, Archie," for us, please? Come on.
One of my favorite shows I'll do for my grandmother. Oh, Archie!
We love you, Marianne. Thank you. We love you, too. Thank you. The great Marianne from Brooklyn. Yeah. She's right. I went to school in Bay Ridge. I went to Poly Prep on Bay 8th Street in Dyker. And Eric, of course, knows a lot of the same people that I do from that area, as well as the Queens, where he's from, where he's been a very, very, very successful councilman. And, I got to tell you, I'll be honest with you. We had Michael Blake in studio yesterday, and we kind of liked him. We gave him an opportunity, but we told him before I said to this guy, I said, Eric Ulrich is my really good buddy. We're endorsing Eric Ulrich enthusiastically. We're voting for Eric, but we'll let Michael talk. And Michael was very respectful to you. But we have said time and time again, Eric, that in a city that has more problems than things going well right now, you may be the only guy, Eric Ulrich, that can save New York City.
Michael Blake's a great guy, great friend, and a great New Yorker. I'm not voting for him on Tuesday, obviously.
Right.
I'm voting for myself, but he's a really terrific guy, and it's great to be here with the both of you. I really appreciate it. Last night I was in Bay Ridge, actually. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, I don't know.
I was with Marty Golden last night.
Oh, that was last night?
That was last night.
That's what Marianne from Brooklyn was talking about.
Was she there? I didn't see her.
She was there, yeah.
Oh, okay, well, it was great to see her. But we were there, and so many people coming up to Marty. I mean, he's so popular. He's such a great guy. What a fantastic elected official was. Really was a shame that he lost. I think he got swept up in all of the...
and it was lost by a hair, too.
Yeah, really. he lost by, I think, just under 1,000 votes or something
just
like
to warn you, we had about 4 politicians on right before that election, that day. Tom Sullivan, how did he do?
He lost.
Bob Eugen, how did he do?
I think he lost, too.
Marty Golden was on this show, too. How did he do?
Okay, I'm leaving the show right now.
No. You do. We're due.
I'm leaving the show. Hey, I want to give a shout-out, if I can, to my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter, Lily. She is listening to the show with my grandmother. She's the love of my life.
That's
I know
so sweet.
Yeah. That's awesome. Most important job I have is being a good
see you,
dad.
Lily.
Thank you.
Now, your grandmother, I know you live in Queens. Your grandma's in Queens, too?
Yes.
Everybody's in Queens right there.
Yes.
And she must be very proud of you. I got to tell you, it's funny. Now that we've met a couple months ago, and Bernie and all of us are all good friends, it's amazing how many people. I'll bring your name up, for example, Bo Dietl. I love Eric Ulrich.
I love Bo.
He loves you, too.
He called me yesterday, too.
I know he did.
He's a great friend.
Even Curtis Sliwa was very, very upset a couple of days ago that you were not on that debate floor and said, you know what? I'm all in. I'm Aldo's Pizzeria. I'm Eric Ulrich.
Just come around.
Yeah.
We like the same restaurants. We like to eat at the same restaurants.
Why weren't you? Was it about raising money? Why weren't you there?
It wasn't so much about raising the money. It was about raising and spending the money by last Monday, which we were not prepared to do. We didn't want to do. We weren't going to spend $171,000 by last Monday on what?
Well, what did they expect you would spend it on?
Consultants? I don't know. I mean, Melissa Mark Viverito, one of the other candidates in the race, she actually took a loan. Yes, she is. She had to take a loan. I think it was over $200,000. She took a loan into her campaign just to meet the threshold. Ugh. That's a very expensive ticket to get into the debate. By the way, it was like an echo chamber. I'm kind of glad I didn't go. Did you see what happened the other night?
Yes. I watched the whole thing.
It was like the 5 of them or 7 of them reading from the same script. It was ridiculous.
It really was. And the thing about Michael Blake, he's the most reasonable. The rest of them are so out there, they sound like lunatics, as I said about Melissa Mark Viverito. I mean, a guy like him who's still very left-wing, he sounds almost normal. But
he's a very bright guy. He's a very impressive guy. He's very good on the stump. Again, I'm not voting for him on Tuesday. I just want to make that very clear.
You are the most reasonable, the most sound, the most sober. I mean,
I'm running on the common sense line.
Yes.
Because we can't, it's a nonpartisan election. Just for your listeners, just to kind of remind them, There's no Democrats and no Republicans. People say, oh, I always vote Republican. You can't vote Republican on Tuesday. There are no Republicans. There are no Democrats on the ballot.
Even though we know there are 2 Republicans running. And
But still, the people that go into the booth, they won't see
No, they won't see that.
And that hurts Eric a little bit. So remember the name, Eric Ulrich, on Tuesday. Vote for him for public advocate.
I'm on the top row, by the way.
You know what's funny? You say it was like an echo chamber. And we're going to break. Please stick around. We'll do another segment. But here's what changed from the first time. When you were on stage that first debate, almost all of the opposition attacked Donald Trump. You were the one that had to keep reminding these folks, this is not about the federal government. It's not about Trump. It's about de Blasio. Now, with you off the stage the other night, all of them all of a sudden became very courageous. And when they brought up Bill de Blasio for president, whether it was Kim or Vivarito or that dope in the white dress, whatever her name is, they all of a sudden were able to attack Bill de Blasio because you weren't there. You would have held their feet to the fire.
I was the original anti-de Blasio, and I still am, except no imitations.
You're the one.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The real thing. Authentic, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
what you see is what you get.
Which is perfect. We'll take a short break. We will talk about the issues, whether it's the homeless they talked about, you guys talked about, whether it's Amazon, corruption.
The Rikers Island insanity.
That's a big one too, Bernie, exactly. So we'll take a short break. We're live once again. What a beautiful setting. Hackensack Meridian Health, Stage 17. We'll put some pictures up so you can see this place. It's gorgeous. It's Bernie and Sid with the guy that's going to win on Tuesday, the public advocate, Eric Ulrich. And we'll be back right after these words.
Bernie and Sid in the morning.
They feel like that. They make me feel like that.
All right, back here live, of course, Hackensack Meridian Health, Stage 17, this gorgeous setting, only a couple of feet away from the actual radio studio where Bernie and I spend most of our time, but we have special guests. We like to do it in this beautiful setting, and Eric Ulrich, running Tuesday for public advocate, is certainly a special guest and become a very, very good friend of both of ours, but he's got a big race. And I know that the New York Times, for example, endorsed Jumaane Williams yesterday, but the Times at this point is fake news. I was very happy to see and surprised. Talking about the Times, the New York Daily News.
Couldn't believe that.
Daily News endorses Eric Ulrich, so that begs the question. If the New York Daily News endorses Eric Ulrich, when is the New York Post going to do the same? Where are you guys? Where's the New York Post? There's only one choice. Eric Ulrich. Where are they?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. You know, we spoke to them yesterday, and I think we made a very compelling case. We want their support. We need their support. We have a lot of momentum going into Tuesday's election, and I think the Post could really tip the scales because the common sense New Yorkers, the people in the outer boroughs, they read the New York Post. They read the Daily News. These are the papers that they read and they trust.
I think it's a lock. They're going to endorse you, no doubt about it. Let's get to some of the issues. Of course, the biggest issue was this Amazon thing. I mean, a no-brainer, right? It's going to bring jobs to New York.
Disgusting what happened.
It's unbelievable.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. 25,000 good-paying jobs coming to the city of New York. Billions of dollars in tax revenue to pay for services, to pay for the things that the liberals want to see in the city. Okay. My point is, we basically looked the gift horse in the mouth and kicked them in the teeth. This is the only city that would show Amazon the door and chase them out of town. Any other city would roll out the red carpet for Amazon or any other company to create 25,000 good-paying jobs.
But the lunatics, of course, couldn't see rationality or prosperity. I mean, again, they looked it in the face and they said, no, it's unbelievable.
But I can't, but listen, and Bernie's right. I understand why the residents, they may feel like eventually they're going to be priced out.
The residents wanted.
Well,
the people in NYCHA, they had a big
most of them did. That's
they
true, you're right.
It.
So, but when I heard the other side debate it, for example, Ocasio-Cortez, her answer was, we want dignified jobs. We spoke to guys like Ron Insana, CNBC, Larry Kudlow. No one can figure out what she means by dignified jobs. It's 25,000 jobs. What is she talking about when she says dignified jobs?
She's a nut job.
Okay.
Okay.
But can you argue?
You can't explain what she's
But can you argue the fact, and I'm all for the Amazon deal, so is Bernie. It is sickening. I was tweeting about it for days, and as New Yorkers, you should be furious it didn't go down. But can you argue that they do have a very spotty record when it comes to the way they've treated their employees in the past? Is that not true?
I'm not going to defend Amazon's business practices in other cities. All I can say is that they had a commitment and a contract, or an agreement, if you will, with the city of New York and the state to come here and create 25,000 good-paying jobs with an average median salary of $150,000. We're not talking about minimum wage jobs and menial jobs. By the way, they had a project labor agreement. So for all of my building trades listeners and supporters, the union carpenters, plumbers, steam fitters, local 3 electricians, they were going to build union. They were going to pay prevailing wages. So it wasn't like they were anti-union, against unions. They said, we're going to pay our permanent employees more than a prevailing wage, more than a union salary. But when we build this facility, this multi-million-dollar facility, we are going to pay prevailing wages and pay union wages and benefits.
Right. And by the way, tax revenue, which we desperately need, that would have been here as well. That's
billions of dollars.
Right.
We just lost. By the way, there's going to be a budget shortfall. I don't know if people are paying attention to this, but there's a tidal wave like headed our way.
Serious as a heart attack, says
the state and the city are going to be facing a significant financial crisis in the upcoming fiscal year. Nobody's talking about that.
No.
You're not reading about that in the papers.
No, not.
But when they start cutting services for the things that New Yorkers rely on and the things that people want, then they're going to say, oh my God, what's happening in the city? What happened? Well, when you show Amazon the door and you chase them out of town and we don't have the tax revenue to pay for these services, it's no wonder we have a budget shortfall. We need money to pay for things in the city. And Amazon was going to come here and stimulate our economy, invest in our local community, create jobs, and help us keep the city and state afloat.
If that sounds reasonable to you, that's why Eric Ulrich is running on the common sense line, because that is common sense. Now, Bernie, before you get to Rikers, I got hammered on Twitter a couple nights ago because I'm watching this debate, and they're all making arguments for homeless shelters. And, Eric, I pay an exorbitant amount of rent. I live on the Upper West Side, and my rent is nearly 5 figures a month. It's a lot of money.
The rent is too damn high.
Not only is the rent too damn high.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you. Which it's one thing.
I like him, too.
For my 10-year-olds, Von Bramer?
No.
Jimmy McMillan.
McMillan.
Okay.
I like Jimmy.
Von Bramer's a moron. He's a moron. So my son walks out of my building where I'm paying this huge rent and walks down the block, Eric, and sees a guy in gray sweatpants. He's got feces in his pants, and he asked my 10-year-old son Gabriel for $1. Let me make this very clear, okay? These homeless people are not my people. They're not my New Yorkers. I don't even sympathize with most of them, to be honest. And the last thing I want in a high-rent district like the place that I live are these scourges, these people. And I understand I'm a recovering addict, and I should be more sensitive to some of these people. No. I don't care. I don't want any of these people anywhere near my neighborhood, especially when I'm paying the types of rent that I got to pay.
I am not against homeless people. I would never protest homeless people, but I will protest failed homeless policies that Mayor de Blasio has carried out since taking office. Do you know, Bernie and Sid, that there are 20,000 more men, women, and children sleeping in the shelter system tonight than the day Bill de Blasio took office? 20,000. We're up to 60,000. 60,000 homeless people in the city of New York. And where is the mayor? He's in Iowa. He's in New Hampshire. Yeah. He's delusional. He thinks he's going to be president. There's something wrong with this guy. We got to get his head checked out. The point is, if there ever was a time to have a public advocate that was truly independent of the mayor, that was going to hold him accountable, that was going to hold his feet to the fire, that was going to make sure that he spends more time in New York than he does in other cities and in other places. Now is the time. On Tuesday is people's opportunity in this city to register that protest, that frustration, and that outrage.
Absolute insanity also, I think, is this notion that we're going to close Rikers Island and build facilities in residential neighborhoods in the boroughs.
They attacked me, by the way, in the
Yes,
first
they killed
debate.
you.
All of them. They ganged up on me,
You killed them,
which
though.
I thought was great. I felt great when they did that. And and when I said the word criminals, there are no how could you say that? In my head I'm saying, what planet am I living on?
I couldn't believe
Well,
it.
they were making the point that some of these people have not been charged yet. They keep them there
Yes,
until they're...
that's true.
But the reason why they can be called criminals is because the bail is high because they have a record. That's why. They're not first offenders. The judge says, you have 3 priors. I'm going to hit you with $500 bail instead of letting you out in the street.
No, but their point is, you're right, Bernie, but they made the argument to Eric that night that a lot of those people are first-time offenders, and they go right there without being charged. That's why they're upset you use the word criminal.
Let's stop the lunacy. People are not there on a picnic. It's not for Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. Rikers Island is downright dangerous. It's a hellhole for the people that have to go there. By the way, for the people that have to work there. How many corrections officers, all right, men and women, have to be slashed in the face before the mayor and the commissioner wake up and realize this place is not safe. Now, I think the answer is to rebuild Rikers, to renovate Rikers, to reform Rikers, maybe to look at some of the cash bail situations for people that can't afford them. Maybe they don't belong there because it is so dangerous. I'm all open to those things. You want to talk about criminal justice reform? Let's have that conversation as adults. But to say we're going to close Rikers and build jails in residential communities like Kew Gardens, like the one that's being proposed in Brooklyn and the Bronx, is going to put public safety at risk. And New Yorkers are not supporting this idea. This is, again, part of Bill de Blasio's progressive nonsense agenda. We've got to put an end to it.
Well, that was the one thing I thought where Michael Blake really stepped up the other night, where you weren't there, of course, so we had the opportunity. But he did say the public advocate is there for it's pretty obvious, for the public. And overwhelmingly, the public is angry about the Amazon dismissal.
By the way, he was against Amazon until very recently.
I know he was.
To be fair.
We brought that up.
Okay.
But the public was for the Amazon deal. The public is for what you're saying, improving Rikers Island.
The public is for common sense.
Right. So if the public advocate is a guy representing the public, all of your ideas statistically represent the public, not them. Not them.
Mainstream. I represent mainstream common sense.
Now, listen, speaking of common sense, this mayor has dismantled pretty much the broken windows policy. It's okay to urinate on the streets, jump the turnstiles, that type of thing.
Well, thank God for those.
Now they want to legalize marijuana, and I'm ambivalent about it. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
I think he's biased on that issue, by the way.
Why?
On marijuana. I'm just kidding.
You saw that pack of Easy Widers fall out of his pocket the other day? No, I'm just kidding. So how does Eric Ulrich feel about legalizing pot?
Dutch masters, I swear. Look, I think it should be legalized for medicinal purposes, for people that are facing terminal illnesses. If it can ease their pain and suffering, I'm all for it. And if we can show through research that marijuana can be used to treat other medical purposes or treat other illnesses, then I think we should be open to that. But to legalize recreational marijuana, the city's going to be a free-for-all. It's already a free-for-all. The cops have their hands tied behind their back. They can't even be cops anymore. It's disgraceful what's going on in the city. The mayor doesn't have their back. They all know that, by the way. Talk to any cop in any borough, and if you ask them, does Mayor de Blasio have your back? They're all going to say no. Wouldn't it be great to have a public advocate in the city who is on the side of public safety and law and order, and the law-abiding, tax-paying citizens of the city who feel like they're being stepped on by the mayor?
They say the illegalization, the criminalization of pot inadvertently affects people of color. That's their argument. You'll hear it all the time. And plus, you can get some revenue from it.
You know, look, this is a conversation that needs to be had, but it doesn't need to be had in the context of Bill de Blasio running for president, because that's what this is all about.
Right.
He is more interested in pursuing higher office and raising his national profile than he is actually having serious conversations about homelessness, about legalization of marijuana, about criminal justice reform, about all of these issues that New Yorkers really care about, and Amazon, by the way.
Right. I have one last thing to ask you, and it's because I take them every single day. Bernie does too at time. The subways. I'm on that 4:50 a.m. one train every morning from the Upper West Side to Madison Square Garden, and I take 2 or 3 trains throughout the day. My wife works in Midtown, so I'm on them. I'm on the 1, the 2, the 3, you name it, the B, the Q. They're disgusting. They're always late. Your train this morning was late from Long Island Railroad. They're dirty. The people on the trains are gross. A lot of the homeless actually live on those trains now. So my question to you is very simple. When people ask de Blasio about the MTA, he says, well, that's Cuomo's fault. And when people ask Cuomo about the MTA problems, he takes some responsibility, but also tries to put some on de Blasio. My question is simple. Does the mayor of this city, is he accountable at all for the issues with the MTA, or is that all about Albany?
It is a shared responsibility and a shared accountability between the two of them, and New Yorkers know that. But neither of them want to take responsibility for the fact that the subways and bus system are a mess in the city, and that over 1 million New Yorkers rely on our public transportation, and they can't get from point A to point B. But then they come out with all of these proposals. They're talking about congestion pricing now. Congestion pricing. Let me tell you something.
I can't take a cab, Eric. I can't take a cab.
Let me tell you something. Congestion pricing would be the worst thing to happen to the people that live in the outer boroughs. If you live or work in Staten Island, in Queens, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, it is going to disproportionately affect you in a way like you've never seen. We're going to make Manhattan the place where only rich people can go. Okay, it's basically a commuter tax on the outer boroughs. You want a commuter tax? Right. Let's charge non-New Yorkers a commuter tax like we used to have. People from Connecticut, people from New Jersey. I'm sorry, New Jersey. You can't vote in Tuesday's election, by the way. But
the hell with them.
I'm saying if we want to fund the capital program, let's put a commuter tax on non-New Yorkers that use the subway and bus system. No, what they want to do is saddle the small businesses and the middle class in the outer boroughs in Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island, and make them pay for decades of neglect and mismanagement at the MTA. It's not something that I'm going to support. I'm the only candidate in the race that doesn't support congestion pricing.
Common sense, as you said before. Listen, Eric Ulrich, folks, it's important. Tuesday's the vote. It's not, you're not going to see an R next to his name, so don't look for Republican. It's Eric Ulrich on Tuesday for Public Advocate. You want some sanity in this city? He's your last chance. I'm telling you right now, Tuesday, get out and vote for Eric Ulrich. Come on.
We're going to win this thing. Thanks, guys.
You are going to win, and believe me, it's going to make me and Bernie very, very happy, and the best thing for this city. Great to see you. Every time I see you and Bernie sees you, we're more and more impressed. So good luck Tuesday. Get the win, and we'll talk to you on Wednesday morning after, okay?
Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you.
The next Public Advocate, Eric Ulrich. We'll take a short break. More of Bernie and Sid right after these words.
Bernie and Sid in the morning.